Not. It's thinking. It's thinking. I think we're thinking.
Thinking about it?
I think so. We're kind of looking like we might be doing a little bit of something.
Let's do the camera here.
Uh-oh.
What does that do? Let's see. If I'm doing this, you know what time it is. There he is.
You know what just happened? I just heard my thingy do the... One of these days.
Let me move some stuff around.
Days, I'm going to move stuff. One of these days.
Make sure my audio cord's not touching anything.
I know my audio cord's touching lots of things. And I don't care. Howdy, everybody who happens to be joining us in the chat as you get here.
Hello.
John Hayes saying, Curious Minds would like to know if shenanigans were had with your brother this weekend. He says, not sure if I'll be on in the next, how much I'll be on in the next few weeks, but I'll be listening more than typing.
I'll be listening.
Thingies, yes.
That's ominous. I will be listening.
Get out the tinfoil.
I don't have all those comments.
That's
Are they older?
because, yes, they were pre-stream.
Ooh.
Pre-stream comments, for some reason, won't populate in the Ecamm interview window. But you've probably got Thingy, Get Out the Tinfoil, and Blessing, right?
Yep. Nope,
Yeah.
not blessing yet.
Oh. Well, that's Jeffrey calling, saying blessings.
Hey, man. Thanks.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Looking. Facebook says we're on the Book of Faces. How about the Twitter? Twitter. Click over to the Vlog Pastas, and it looks like we are on there. What do we want to talk about today? You guys got any ideas what you want us to talk about? We don't know what we want to talk about.
Whoa, my
John
goodness.
wants us to ask about shenanigans, but there really weren't any shenanigans. What is... Oh. Apparently
With
it
your
wanted to pick
brother?
up-
What did you do with your brother? What's that about?
He came up to... There was a friend of his who had passed away. They were having a celebration of life service, and he came up because he thought, well, twofold. One, be nice to come up to that, because this guy was really close to him. And two, why not just hang out and visit with Grandma and see her, because he hasn't seen her since everything happened and whatnot. And so he came up, Dustin saying, not enough time for shenanigans. Yes, there were not enough time for shenanigans. It was a very short trip. I believe he got in Friday evening and then left Sunday afternoon. So it was short trip.
That dude can travel. I don't
Yeah.
know how he does it. I don't know how you do it, Dustin. I don't do that. It's just not in
No.
me.
Nope. Well, and he
Not
made
this
it, I mean,
mic.
he made it a 2-day trip, like, because I think he said they left Thursday afternoon. Yeah, because it was Thursday. Thursday was my birthday. And I had to think back. I was like, why did he send me a video message on Thursday? Yes, he sent me a message on Thursday while he was still in South Carolina from him and the family saying, you know, happy birthday, Uncle Josh. And then took off, left, and then made it back Friday afternoon. So I think they stopped somewhere Thursday night. But yeah, he does it for a living, like he's saying. Do it for a living now. He drives all over and enjoy. John, there's always time for shenanigans. I don't know if there's always time for shenanigans. There always should be time for shenanigans. But sometimes. Brian David saying, what's up? What's up with you? How you been? I don't know what's up with me.
How's Grandma?
Better.
I'm sorry, I did ask you that earlier, so
That's
I
all
guess
right.
I do know a little bit.
She's
I'm
better.
curious. I'm curious in a
Is
more
that
like
background music a little loud today?
a little bit, but I think it's okay.
Oh, it is.
With things happening so
How is
fast, I just kind of like to stay up to date on how to tailor
won't
the
it let
prayers.
Roll. It will not let me bring that down on that
Formally, happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, that is at 10%. Maybe it's this one. That's at 10. And that's at 10. I wonder if I can... Oh, it doesn't matter if I drop them. Oh, what did you do, Ecamm? Ecamm's messing. They put them back up to... Ecamm. For shame. So there's this... They're supposed...
There it is. There it is. Now I'm feeling it. Crank it. Yeah. Da, da, da. Now there's some shenanigans right there. When the lounge music goes crazy, it gets a mind of its own.
I have no idea. Like,
Yeah.
It's got a slide. Supposed to be a slide where you can just drag it and adjust the volume level. But for some reason, it would not let me do it. And then all of a sudden, I clicked on it and it jumped up like from 10 to... It said it was at 100, so it wouldn't let me slide. And then I clicked on like the middle and it jumped up to 50. And then apparently that raised it from 10 to 50. But anywho, so I went the roundabout way. Grandma is doing better, I think. I haven't seen her this morning. I saw her last night and she was doing better. Electrolytes that just kind of went out. And, you know, the older we get, the more these mortal bodies were not built for eternity. And so it's like, you know, classic cars. The stuff just starts breaking down. And sometimes you're playing the guessing game of which part is it that's breaking down. And if you don't select the right one, then there can be a chain reaction of symptoms. So, yeah, it sounds like the current theory is that we've just got, in addition to, you know, the stroke and recovering from the stroke back in February, and that was a 2-month process in and out of the hospitals. Now she's kind of in with, we weren't sure if it was another round of TIA, mini stroke basically, or then they started thinking, well, maybe this was seizures. And it was like, okay. And they're like, and you wouldn't have known because, I mean, we even had EMTs come and stop out and they agreed that it looked like a TIA, which at that point it's a mini stroke and there's not much you can do because you just wait. They last anywhere from like 15 minutes to a few hours and symptoms are pretty much gone in 24. And all of her vitals were stable. So it was like, well, we'll just let her kind of come out of it. And she would come out of it and then go right back into it and then come out of it and then go back into it. So is this many, many strokes? Is it one that's just doing a little roller coaster ride or what? But after talking to a neurologist, they thought maybe it's actually seizure instead. So they think what happened was they do know that electrolytes were low. Potassium, magnesium, sodium was all low. So because of that, the theory is they've got her on like water pills to make sure she's not retaining fluids because of some of the, you know, arm that doesn't move as much. And if it just stays, and you retain fluid and that can create a whole host of other problems. But what happens when you flush your system, whatever is being transported in that system is going to flush with it. So the electrolytes are getting flushed out and not really retaining. So now it's a case of, okay, we think we know what happened. Now we need to figure out how to prevent this from happening. So they basically took her into the shop and topped off all of her levels to get her back to, running shape. And then it's like, I think they wanted to, actually, I know the doctor wanted to keep her. And I was like, ain't happening. And I just flat out told him, I was like, we're here for 24 hours. And that's only because you guys won't let us do an outpatient fill up. Because we just wanted to come into the clinic and hook her up with an IV and level it off. And they're like, well, we've got to actually admit you to do the potassium. They can do magnesium and sodium just in the clinic, but the potassium they can't. Because apparently it affects the heart a little bit more. So they got to hook up. Fair enough. And it was like, all right, you can watch her overnight. And yeah. Fortunately, she was finally rested up and alert and coherent enough that when the doctor came in and he's like, well, hey, Colleen, you're looking a little bit better. And I was like, she is. And we're ready to get out of here. Right, Grandma? Do you want to stay here another night? And she's like, no, I don't.
Nope. Get me out of here. Awesome.
All right, it's time.
Welcome to the Vlogpastors Podcast, a podcast all about the stories and strategies of sharing God's love in the digital world. Now, here are two pastors that love to put a camera in their face and walk around in public. They are the Buzz and Woody of digital ministry, Jarrod Brown and Joshua Verwers.
Well, howdy, I'm Joshua Verwers.
And I'm Jarrod Brown. I guess this is Vlogpastors.
Yeah, and I don't know what episode it is. Do you?
We're on episode 87?
Sweet.
Yeah, 87.
We're approaching episode 100 here about the time summer wraps up, and yet we're 87 episodes in, and we still have no idea what we're talking about today, which is why you guys need to be here.
Yeah, because you can help influence where we're going, guide the conversation every Wednesday, 10:30 in the AM, except for today, of course. I don't know what's going on today, but every 10:30 Wednesday. Obviously, I'm knocking this one out of the park this morning. Every Wednesday, 10:30 in the AM, Central Time, God's time. Tell us what we're doing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the few that are in the chat with us this morning live have not told us what we were doing.
So we still don't know.
John is in the house. He's just saying that the lounge music that we had was louder than the static that we brought. Brian David in the house saying that it sounded like a hotel lobby, which I am glad it was a hotel lobby. Actually, that does. Yeah, I was thinking a hotel lounge. But I like lobby better. I think lobby's probably a better place for a couple of pastors to hang out than their lounge.
You'll find me in the lounge.
Let's see. Dustin says the only shenanigans were surprising people because he stopped up and he visited with us today, and we keep saying shenanigans because it's fun. His next surprise visit apparently is going to be in Texas. He. You know, the only thing that would be better is if he tried to surprise visit you in Texas and you were up here in Iowa.
I was up in Iowa. Yeah, let's not tell him what dates those may or may not be. That'd be hilarious.
That would be amazing. And we also had this morning with us Pastor Jeffrey Collings saying, blessings. Good to see you. Glad you're all here. You should be able to join us on pretty much any of the social platforms, anything that's streaming video currently, with the exception of I don't know, a few of them that we might talk about this morning, because that is a thought that I had and I was kind of wrestling around in my mind. But we are currently on the YouTubes. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we are on Rumble. So you can catch us any of those places. At least we're there until I figure out why Rumble charged me $10 the other day. Apparently I had to pay for something. I don't know what it was, but I need to check into that.
Wait. You have to pay on Rumble? No, it's free. It's Merca.
I have no idea. I was scanning through
freedom.
And I had something that said, your $10 transaction to Rumble. And I'm like, did they pay me finally? And then I hopped on there and it was like, nope, you paid them. I'm like, what did I pay them for? I don't remember.
You supported somebody. Come on. You joined Patreon or whatever they have.
I don't even watch us on Rumble.
Their ramble of Rumble.
I don't even watch our own show over on Rumble. So I don't know exactly what's going on. But Dustin says if you happen to be gone, he knows where you live, so he'll just make himself at home.
Seriously, make yourself at home. I'll tell you where the key is when we get off this thing. Yep.
Feed the goats.
Oh, seriously, feed the goats. You know what? Swing by, feed the goats. Run down to the in-laws, feed the goats.
Yeah. John says, Dustin, you got to get a selfie with Tank. That would be hilarious. Yeah. Like headlock selfie. I dare you.
You're not going to want to do that. It's not that you're not physically capable. We just, if you had, well, Dustin has, but if you've been around a Billy in the last few days, you know that they smell to high heaven because their aphrodisiac is to pee on their beards. Get it everywhere, rub it in there, comb it in, real nice and powerful so that they're fully scented for the ladies.
Interesting.
You're not going to want to get a headlock on that. I had some guys come over to the house the other day. They were petting this guy all over. It was Tank, usually Tank the hero. He was Tank the sucker because he hasn't been touched in years. They're petting him all over. I'm like, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to regret that decision.
Yes.
It's rough.
So how have things been down there in the great country of Texas?
You may be able to tell. Great, but I'm tired. I'm tired, man. I am so tired. My father-in-law has gone to India to meet up with ministry and some folks over there, and so that's awesome. I'm excited for him.
Yeah.
However, my place is you can take everything and basically multiply it by 4 to 6, and that's what he has to deal with. And so while he's gone, I get to do the hay, putting out of the hay. I get to do the feeding of the animals. I get to do keeping the garden alive. I get to do any water issues with any of the troughs that goes on. I get to do any fence repair that may come up. And so I'm tired. I was already tired from increasing the video business, but now that we're going down there, we have to, because it's 107. I was telling you about that a minute ago.
Right.
It's 107 today. It was like 110 earlier this week. So it's pretty stinking hot. And if you want to keep those veggies alive, because I've killed them off every other time he's left town, if you want to keep those veggies alive, you've got to get ahead of them in the morning, get them good and soaked. So we got to get down there at like 6 o'clock in the a.m., get them soaked down. Takes about an hour and a half, and then got to do the other chores.
Yeah.
And then you're already behind.
You got to give a little bit of time for the water to get down to the roots.
Yep. The where?
Roots.
I have not watered any ruts.
I didn't say rut. I said root.
Root
Rhymes with foot.
Roots.
Yeah.
Is that is that kin to a beet?
No.
Okay.
No.
Couldn't tell you. Well, I don't know if he has any of those planted, but I'm also watering the roots of all the plants around there.
Roots.
Make
You're
sure
watering the roadways.
No, I
that you
am
take to get from like
the
Dublin
roots.
to Stevensville.
I'm making sure everything's nice and saturated. It gets down to the roots.
Oh, the roots. Okay. Yeah. Tomato.
Oh, okay. I got you. I'm with you now. Yeah. Well,
Red
agree
fruit.
to disagree. Yeah.
That don't taste like fruit. Oh, nope. John is saying that the roadways that you take, those aren't routes. Those are routes.
Routes. My man. Is it when you pull up to Sonic?
So it's Route 66?
Thank you.
I thought you got your kicks off of Route 66?
Route 66.
I thought it was get your kicks on Route 66.
Who's ever said that?
I must have heard that song wrong. Interesting. Anywho.
Hey, so what are you up to? That's
Isn't
what I'm
the
up
English
to.
language just so stupid?
It is.
It is.
And we're not that far from one another. I mean, seriously. No. But you guys speak a totally different language. Did you see the guy? He's
is
the
it creek or crick?
It's creek for me.
Okay.
Depending on how far out in the country you go.
See,
because,
if I'm calling it an official creek, like its name, like if it's actually named a creek, then it's
on this
creek.
We agree.
But if it's just your own little creek and your own timber, it's a creek.
On this we agree.
Okay, all right, we're good.
If you have a dried creek bed that only goes, it's kind of a washout, like a gully, creek.
Okay. I'm
Stream. What is that?
Streams. Wait, no, that's what Tank was doing to get his aphrodisiac going.
Exactly. Don't get in his stream. No.
No, up here, I would say I'm rolling with the punches. We're doing what we're doing. I wound up having a birthday last week, and then the day after my birthday, I had my gallbladder removed. And then the very next day...
Hold on. You glance over that every time. You're like, oh, yeah, by the way, I had surgery yesterday. And it's like, you didn't tell anybody, nothing. Like, what?
Yeah, I had a gallbladder removed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's only one, so I guess it's not a gallbladder. It's the gallbladder.
It's the gallbladder.
Yeah, so they did little beep, 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 and then yanked it out. Although they told me not to tell people that they yanked it out because they don't yank it. They pull it. I'm like, tomato. So I've been, I don't know. I've got to go in here in another, week or so to my post-surgery follow-up appointment and whatever. I was out of it. This is like the first actual surgery that I have had since I was like born. Had some skull surgery back then, but apart from that, nothing.
Dustin.
Never put under anesthesia. Like I had wisdom teeth removed. I guess that's technically considered a surgery, but I was looking at the dentist the whole time saying, I thought you were going to use a local anesthetic on that. And he's like, you can still feel the pain. I was like, I wouldn't say it if I couldn't.
Yeah. Hey,
it's like,
good sir.
He's like, well, at this point, there's not much we can do. So just brace. But no, this is like the first time that I kind of went under. So I don't remember anything that was going on. I remember the lady that said, you can just take some deep breaths right now. And this is the point where I tell you that we'll see you in a little while and you'll wake up and you won't remember anything that happens. And I remember her saying that. And then I remember them saying, hey, Josh, are you about to wake up? Is there anything we can get you? And I said, coffee. And he's like, we can get you coffee, but you need to wake up. And I said, I'm waking up then. And then I just kind of shook the cobwebs off. And I'm like, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? Because they told me I couldn't eat or drink anything that day. And I'm like, I need coffee. That's what I needed. So
that's hilarious. There's no point in waking up unless there's some coffee.
Right. I was like, coffee. And they're like, yeah, we've got coffee. It's
I'll use your language. Bring it sat.
Like, perfect. Which, we got a friend of ours at the church that I was there one time when he went through a surgery. I don't even remember what it was. And like the first thing that he comes out, we're in the recovery room and he's, because he loves Mountain Dew. So it was like, we knew like the moment that he had done that, I was like, yeah, my first word out is probably going to be coffee.
And it was.
It was.
So what led up to this? What was going on? Had some back pains and whatnot, or have you been going off and on with this for a while? Or
here's the deal. How do you know what symptoms are related to what when you've got 50 different things that could contribute to the same symptoms? So like he's asking me, do you have any back pain, like shoulder pain, neck pain, rib pains?
Yeah.
And I'm like, about the time that I turned an adult, I started becoming a professional wrestler, which was
wrestler.
Throwing myself around on a canvas on top of an 1.5 inch piece of foam on top of 2x10s on top of steel tubing. And I would do that week in and week out for years. So back pain? Yes. But I just assume that back pain is because of all the damage that I did. Like is there any other reason for back pain? Like when you've done this? So had that and he's like, okay. And I had some chest pains, kind of like diaphragm, sternum area, heartburn, like an extreme. And that would pop up every couple of years to the point where I would call out, screaming out to God to take me because I can't deal with it. And it's like, curl up in a fetal position in the car and have my wife run me to the emergency room. And then it's like, help.
The one-chip challenge. Yeah.
They run a battery of tests and they can't find anything. This has been going on since I was 18. So we're at like 25 years now. And it's like off and on every couple of years, it gets this bad. Had no idea what was going on. We couldn't find anything. They're looking, they're scanning, they're doing every test they can imagine, and nothing is showing anything. So, and all of my blood tests and everything, it looks fine. So they didn't know. And then it happened to be this last time, which I believe was in May, that I was out at the hospital, and they just happened to see I had one gallstone. They found one. And it wasn't that big. On the scan, it was like a centimeter. And they're like, it's kind of on that verge where it could give you some problems. But they didn't have somebody to read the scan, so they didn't tell me anything about this. And of course, I'm in extreme pain. So I'm not remembering anything at 2 a.m. of what's going on. So it was a few weeks later that my primary doctor calls me up and she's like, hey, I was just going back over your charts and there was something. So like the CT and the CT with contrast, or not CT, CT with contrast, I think is the two that they did. Plus they did an ultrasound. Ultrasound was the one that showed something, but they didn't have anybody to read the ultrasound there that day. And the ER doctor just ran other tests, and those tests came back inconclusive. So they're like, we'll just give you some fentanyl. And I was like, how about you just send me home and I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And then a few weeks later, my doctor, after following up with her, she calls me up and she's like, hey, there actually is something. I want you to go see a surgeon. And he's like, well, should we see it? And then, okay. And he talks to me and he's like, Can you tell me if you've got any family history of that? Is there, siblings, parents, anybody had their gallbladder removed? And I was like, well, I'm the only one that still has one. And he's like, oh, well, then this is coming out. So, yeah, it's like, I'm the only one that still has one. And he's like,
so everybody suffered with this.
Everybody.
Ooh.
So now here's the interesting thing. One gallstone, mind you. Genevieve tells me that he came in afterwards because it took about an hour and a half longer than they had expected. And they ran into some issues because it was the gallbladder was larger and more inflamed than they had thought. And according to her, what he told her was this was one of the worst gallbladders he has ever seen, and it was filled with gallstones. And how I was not in more pain and having more issues, he has no idea. I'm like, but you only saw one.
Well,
hey, at least we got it out. So,
did you get to keep it?
No, they didn't. They didn't let me. Like, nobody asked me. What if I wanted to give that thing a proper burial?
I just want to see.
In some of the bomb.
Exactly. I want to see some of the little. I want to see the gallstones. That's what I want to see. I want to squeeze that gallbladder and watch it pop out.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, and I guess it was. I don't know.
We don't need it for long. We'll give it
I
back.
got something that said there were like 4 large stones, and then the entire interior was covered in like a sludge and granular. I was like, whatever.
That's kind of the point of it, though, isn't it? Isn't that the point of the gallbladder, just to kind of grind it up?
My understanding is a gallbladder is meant to take the bile, concentrate it, and store it for later. And then if you don't use it, then all of a sudden it kind of, the concentration turns into stones. See, so if that's the case, then I think I should have been eating a lot more fatty and hot foods, so I should have used up more of the bile. But anyways, I don't know. John saying, how's the recovery? Recovery's going all right. I have found that laughing hurts. I'm going to disagree with the Bible. It says laughter works like a good medicine. I don't think so, because I've not known too many medicines that cause more pain.
I think it's for the heart. Who knows, though?
Does a heart good like medicine?
Not so much the gallbladder.
Not so much the abdominal side.
Yeah.
So, because it was larger than they thought, they had to open up the incision in my belly button, the deep cavern. They had to open that up a little bit wider than they thought, so it was going to take a little bit longer to heal. And I'm like, meh. All right.
Hats off to you, man.
Yeah.
You're taking that like a champ.
Couple bruises, and at the same time, this was also one of the benefits of Dustin coming up, because he was able to kind of help with Grandma, some of the lifting and the transitioning, because that was day of surgery that he wound up showing up. So between him and Genevieve over the weekend, they were able to get Grandma moving around and what needed to be. And now Genevieve's taken over, and she'll enjoy that until I get cleared for lifting and using muscles.
What do you have, 2 weeks? What'd they say? 10 days?
Well, for the first 2 weeks, I'm restricted to like a jug of milk, which I'm glad they said a jug of milk, because at first they said a cup of coffee, and I was like, can we be a little bit more specific? Because I've got some really big coffee cups.
Yeah.
So they said basically a gallon of milk is to kind of limit myself for the first couple weeks, and don't do any exercising, but get out and walk. So apparently they don't consider walking exercise.
Interesting.
They said walk around and move. So I've been moving. I haven't been like going on, 5K walks or anything like that, but getting up and moving around as much as possible, and pushing myself a little bit as far as, when there's resistance and the abs don't really want to crunch so well, I go ahead and make them crunch. But I'm a back and stomach sleeper, and I've been able to sleep on my back and stomach after night 1. So, or on side and stomach after night 1. Night 1 was miserable because I couldn't roll.
That could have been bad.
I was like, I do not sleep on my back, so I had to like elevate myself, and then I kept trying to roll over and wake myself up and be like, ow.
I was talking to a guy today, hasn't slept for a year, but 3 hours a night.
No.
I'm like, dude, how do you function?
No, I I would most definitely at that point be taking any type of chemical in my body to possibly get me.
You're saying about that fentanyl, huh? Get it in here.
Right. I would be like, no, I need rest. I need sleep. So anyway, John's saying, did you find the issue usually after eating certain food types? I did not. I tried. When my brothers were really starting to have this, I was.
I tried to trigger it as best I could.
That people told me that, like one of the last ones, somebody had said that, coffee actually will, cause it more. Well, if you remember right, a couple of years ago, I wound up on International Coffee Day. The only thing I drank all day long was coffee. I think I had like 20 cups of coffee or something like that. It was so bad I dehydrated myself by the end of the night and had an extreme migraine. Nothing happened to my stomach. I had Da Bomb, and nothing affected my stomach, gallbladder at all. I mean, it affected other body parts, but it did not affect that. And I ate hot and spicy and fatty. I mean, ketogenic diet. Everything they said don't eat, I ate more of just to see if I could get it to act up. And nothing triggered it. The only thing that, and here was the hardest part about all of this, the only thing that we actually were able to correlate to it was the moments when these attacks would come on was during high stress times of my life. And so after you've got, 25 years of medical charts where you're coming in with, upper abdominal and chest pains, you can go back and look, okay, so what happened here? Oh, I moved out and up to college. What happened here? Oh, you dropped out of college. Okay, what happened here? You got married. What happened here? You had a kid. What happened here? You have another kid. What happened here? You bought a house. What happened here? You got fired from your job. What happened here? Oh, grandma was just in the hospital. So it's like that was the only correlation. Thus, they originally had diagnosed this as a stress-induced gastritis. And then we're like, just eliminate stress.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll do my best.
Okay, so again, with the conversation, or one of the conversations this morning, I'm curious about this. This may be a direction for our discussion today, but knowing when to like stand in faith and fight an issue, and then when the doctors have it handled. Because was talking with a gentleman, eats clean, does what he's supposed to do, goes to a holistic type doctor who believes that God built your body, to thrive and to rebuild itself and to fight off diseases, all sorts of things, to function in this world as it should. And if you take in the proper nutrition, if you take in the proper hydration, if you keep some movement going on with your body, and you stay in perfect peace, then you're going to pretty much be in health. But what I think is amazing are like the doctors who are like, yeah, just maybe they're not believers. We're like, you need to stay in kind of a low stress environment. How on God's green earth? Well, it's God's green earth, but it is a fallen world. And how are you supposed to do that?
Yeah. It's so hard. Like, I don't understand. I mean, yes, we understand biblically that there are ways that the closer we get to Christ, the more peace that we're going to have, the more confidence, the more security with all that we're going to have. We get that. We know that. And yet the 12 that were the closest to him, I mean, are we saying that being persecuted and martyred was stress-free living?
Stress-free living. Or maybe Joshua, maybe they lived a perfectly stress-free life up until that moment where they were hauled off and boiled and hung upside down and crucified at night.
No, I think it's, and Jesus even told us, he's like, you're going to have trouble. You're going to have problems. Yeah. There's going to be issues. Jesus himself faced a lot of it. So I think we're going to have it. I think it just comes to how we respond to it. But at the same time, when you encounter something new that you haven't encountered before, or maybe you have encountered it, but it's been a while and you just weren't prepared for it and your guard was let down, that instant moment before you can respond and react properly, it's just like you go to gut reactions and it's like, oops.
Isn't it funny how when it's someone else, say, for instance, this fella, we ended up, it just felt like a prayer moment. It felt like something that God wanted to interject himself into that conversation. It felt like he wanted to, break some stuff off and change the course of where that was going. Whereas like sometimes when it's ourselves, we're like, I don't know, just work the system. I don't know, get it off me, break it.
Right.
Such a fascinating. I was thinking about that because it made me think of it. Was it Brian who does a lot of street ministry and records some of that stuff?
No, not Brian. It's it is Brian, not this Brian, but the other Brian. Brian
Gotcha.
Sorosa.
So in recording all of that, I think that's always been fascinating to me. Is like when's the time to break out the camera and record, because it also doubles with my faith walk. It's like, Lord, is this the time where we just know that this conversation needs to go in a different direction? Or like, yes, this guy's going to a holistic doctor who believes in Jesus and is trying to bring things about for the betterment of this man's health. However, there's something different that's going on right now. And God wants to jump on the line and change the trajectory here. Yeah. And we just knew that. Like, there was a handful of guys with us. We're like, we know this is different from this moment on. This now changes. And I wonder if he could do the same thing with video as well. Like, now's the time, turn the camera on for people like Brian, people like myself, whenever we're out, and amongst you, whenever you're out at the praying for leaders and whatnot. Now's the time where we change the trajectory because God wants to interject himself. And I happened to see Casey, and it's the new product, that little 360
Go 3.
And I was just thinking, man, wouldn't that be clever?
Oh.
Because I've been waiting for something small. It doesn't need to be white because I dress all in black. I need a black one. But something small that
vinyl over top of it.
Exactly. Where you could check your framing and just kind of, you could hit record from afar. You don't have to go, hold on just a second, I think this is the moment, And then you could capture all that. I saw that thing and I thought, oh, that might change the game. That might change the game.
When they came out with the first Insta360 Go, I was like, oh, they're heading in the right direction. Like, they're heading in the right direction. And then I saw the quality and then I was like, ew. I don't know. But then the 2 came out and I was like, oh. Mm-hmm. Now the only issue is battery life. And now they've got it and it's like, I don't think there's an issue anymore. Like, I really don't. If you guys haven't seen the Insta360 Go, you probably don't watch any tech YouTubers. It is...
They all hit on the same day.
It is a camera that is the size of our thumb.
Yeah.
But it fits in a cradle that is essentially the size of a GoPro.
Yep.
But it has a flip-up screen. So you can use it vlog style, I guess, if you wanted to. Sure. But that case, the console, I don't even know what they call it, the cradle.
I like the cradle.
Has a battery in it, so it enhances the battery, which I think the record, if I remember right, it goes 45 minutes on it. And then with that, it's like an hour and 45 minutes that it extends it out.
I don't remember the specs.
Or it might be a half hour or something. I don't know. It's in there, but it's crazy. And it does 2.7K, which... Quite frankly, as long as you can get clean 1080p, we're good. Just do clean 1080p. But this is doing 2.7K.
And the warping doesn't look too bad because, sometimes whenever you have like a GoPro-esque or a 360 cam, like you have all of this. It forces the middle up and the back edges get weird warpy type things.
This isn't bad.
It wasn't bad. I mean, you can see it. You can tell that it is a GoPro-esque type thing, but you're going to be putting it in places that you wouldn't otherwise be able to put a camera. And even in post, you could crop in a little bit. So as long as you're not standing on top of something.
And not only can you crop in, a lot of those, I mean, pretty much every editing software, they've got the GoPro footage filter, which like pulls the edges out. Mm-hmm. Now it's a digital thing, so it doesn't look the greatest, but if you crop in, you pull that out, that'll work. And with the audio, it's not great audio. And yes, audio is more important. However,
it wasn't bad, man.
It's not bad. And with AI anymore, like you can clean up your audio in an instant. And at least it's clear. You can make it out. It's got a little bit of a tinny sound almost in a can, but not nearly as bad as, old school GoPro. I was impressed. And that other thing is the cradle. It it allows for like remote viewing too, which that's one of the coolest things that, you know,
that's probably hands down. That's the seller for me.
That and the fact that the camera itself is magnet. So like if you watch Peter McKinnon's, he's inside his old truck and he's just placing the camera and it's magnetizing against the frame and the body of it, just anywhere he's putting it. And so he just set it here, set it here, set it here. And then he's able to look at the cradle and check the viewing and the angle on it to make sure that everything's framed up right. So it's just...
How great is that? Because that opens... That's one of those cameras. I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. I love this guy right here. For me, game changer. I'm so glad. Let me just go on record again and say Diana and Joshua Verwers, they were right. This
Big E!
For stabilization. What do I call this one? I don't call him that because I stopped saying it around you guys. Whatever he is.
Zed? I don't know. What do you call him?
I don't know. I've lost his name.
I call him Big E, and Diana calls her Storm.
Hers, that's cool because hers is white.
Hers is all white, yeah.
It's pretty slick. Anyway, that thing stabilization, that definitely changed the game. But it didn't get the old creative juices flowing because it is the traditional package.
Right.
I like it. No gimbal. This thing's the future. But even more so the future, being able to pop that thing off. You can look at it live and in real time. Put it wherever. It's so small. Put it wherever it needs to be. Oh,
my concern with it though, with the Insta360 Go 3. I think that's what it's called, or InstaGo, the Go 3, the new one. Yeah. My issue with that and my concern with that is there is a big gimmick to it, and it is the portability and stuff. And for most people, those are going to be rare situations that they will use it. Like when I'm watching Casey's video, and I didn't finish all of Casey's because I was at the hospital, so I wasn't watching all of it. I think I got 3/4 of it through. The majority of the video that he used on it was all B-roll. Peter McKinnon did a lot more that was a little more A-roll, B-roll. But if it's just a B-roll, I don't know how many people will go to that type of B-roll because it becomes a little bit gimmicky in its approach. But I would say for people that are interested in it and they look at it and they're like, oh, this is cool, make sure that you can actually come up with like a dozen reasons and a dozen ways that you would use this on the regular basis. If you're not going to use it on a regular basis, then why? I mean, because if you're just going to say, oh, I'd like to put it in, Casey, like put it in the bottom of a coffee cup and you could see like or maybe that was Peter, and the ice was pouring out. You could do that with your phone and a clear glass. I know because I've done it.
No, I hear that you could, but here are my options. I have this camera that I carry around with. Let's make believe. Mm-hmm. I've got a camera right there. Most times, if I'm vlogging, I would love to have a camera, let's just say off screen a little bit, capturing what I'm doing, because that just adds the extra flavor. But if I do it my way, I have to have one of these guys on a tripod and whatever I've got going on, or I've got to have this guy, and for just a second I either throw him out here because let's be honest, we're not going to bring multiple tripods.
Correct.
Because now you have a studio, especially vloggers, now you have a studio rolling around and you don't want that. But if I have a magnet and a dream, I can slam that puppy up, then I can do whatever it is I'm doing, and there's always two angles going, and that to me...
Yeah, I would have liked to see Casey do an A-roll video. Like, I would have liked to see him do a video completely shot on that.
Yeah.
If he would have, because he could do it. Like, I was watching that and I was like, why isn't he? Now, part of it's because he wasn't in New York. I think if he's in New York, he's most definitely got the ability to do that. Because you're out in public. I mean, he's along the river. And he just takes that and he sticks it on the side of the rail. It's going to magnetize to it. He's out on the street. He hits a corner and he puts it against a street pole, light pole, and then all of a sudden it magnetizes that way.
I'm curious because to me that says something. I haven't seen Peter's video, but to me that says something. He's big on what is it? The best camera in your hand that works. Well, that one is obviously not the best camera in his hand. I think he has
at that time, yeah.
At that time.
But he's done full videos just using his phone.
He has, but he didn't with this one. So that tells me something. there's a chink in its armor, and he's agreed to do it on the gimmick, but
Correct.
I guess the audio, there's something that he does not prefer over it.
Yeah, that's where it's not one that I will jump on right away. But that's because I still got Big E to get. But I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to think about, are there ways that I do think it could be used? Oh, absolutely.
Little Z. That's what I call him. Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Why do you call him? Little Z because of yours.
Mm.
Little Z, that's right. Yeah. I've got Big E and Little E because I've got the... Yeah.
It's fly away, little guy. He's tiny.
Yeah. So anyways, although my little Z might be my Z, just ZV one, but oh no, mine's Z. Yeah, I've got Z and
Yours
Big E.
is Z.
That's right. So anyways, I think there are a lot of ways that could be used, and especially like you were talking, those that do any type of a street ministry. Oh man, it's perfect. The only thing I would say at that point is what they should do is, because that would be perfect to, like, you walk up to somebody, you set it on like a street light, street post, or street sign, whatever. Anything that's metal that's around you, the frame on a building's window, the car frame, whatever. You just set it on anything you got. What do you got there?
Recording device. I know where you're going.
Yes.
Just make sure you're...
Get a recording device, and whether it's something external like that or whether it's just your phone. The issue with the phone is when you wind up getting notifications and stuff that can come through. So it can be an issue, but finding some type of recording device and just a lav or a lapel, something easy that'll pick up a little bit more of the audio. That would be huge, especially for doing some street ministry. You know, you just grab a little audio recorder, pop it in your pocket. You got a lav up there and praying for somebody, but the camera's off there, so it doesn't feel like the camera's in their face.
Yeah.
And you're able to pray about it, and
and
pray over them, whatever. And then you say, hey, I've got this YouTube channel that I'm doing, and it's really to kind of, do some street ministry, bring Jesus to people. I do have a camera over there that was recording. Is it all right if I use this? And if they say yes, perfect. And you're still recording, and you've got the audio, so you've got their approval for it. And if not, no problem. And then you delete it off there, which that's what a lot of those out in public YouTubers wind up doing. The only difference is they've got somebody hiding in the bushes with a telephoto lens. Yeah. And they're like, hey, if you can see that guy over there being a creeper, he's been recording us the whole time.
Yes. Well, also public spaces. I mean, if you don't want to get into all that, but I would assume if you're doing praying for somebody, Christian content, you probably will ask for their permission at some point, some juncture. But dude, I mean, so I'm a newcomer to audio, lapel miking people up. Mm-hmm. So I used to think that was such a hassle, but now that I've been using, you use toupee tape, right? Mm-hmm. I use the little, what are they called, Rycoats or...
Yeah, the Rycoat adhesive sticks.
I use the Rycoat adhesive stuff. I think I don't know, maybe there's other reasons, other scenarios, but for me, my personal use case, I think I'm going to mic myself up all the time now and just forget about the boom. It is so easy to put that thing on and then just let it roll. Especially with our the syncing software that's in some of these, some of these audio devices and cameras or just external editing. I mean, you're there. You don't have to worry about making sure everything syncs up right. You can just blast a clip and then leave it running the whole day.
See, and I've been doing at church. I don't think I've posted any multicam angles, but I've been recording multicam. Other than if somebody gets up to go to the bathroom and then they walk in front of one of the cameras, then I'll switch to the other one. If I feel like actually doing it. So I think I've only done it once. But to sync up the two, and I've only got my lav going to the A6600 and then the ZVs over there, and I don't even have a microphone on. It's just the onboard mic. But the only thing I do is I press record on the Z or the A66. I go over, I press record on the ZV1. I walk back in. I've got the mic here, ZV1's right there, and I clap right in front of it.
Yeah.
And then I go up. I haven't had anybody at church even ask why I clap right before. Actually, I haven't even been clapping. I've been snapping. So it's just snapping with the finger right here. The microphone's there and the lens is there, so it sees it. And then when it comes to sync, man, Premiere Pro, synchronize. Drop this in, drop that in, and then sync. When I've been snapping, every single time, it is on the ball.
I'm the opposite story. I've been burned by Premiere Pro. There was a handful of videos for a while that were pretty important that I could not get the audio lined up. It was a pain. I had to manually go in there and make sure that everything lined up because it wasn't syncing. I don't know if anybody else had that problem, but that's where I turned, man. I invested in Tentacle Sync. I've got the back here as well. I'll show you. You'll know what I'm talking about, but for anybody watching live and in the stream, you'll pair something like this. We've got the Tentacle Sync E and one of these guys, and then you have your audio device, your capture. So you have these two guys. This guy's on the camera if you're doing multicam at the church, and this guy's on the soundboard or your person, or if you have multiples, then all your cameras are going to be synced to time codes. So you bring it into their software, and it is dialed in. You don't even have to think about it. You just put it all in there, and there's no time. There's no wait time. It's just done and exports it to Premiere, ready to rock, no matter what. Ironclad. Perfect. Never had an issue with it.
Yeah, syncing it by that time code, because that's how it does that, right?
Yeah.
It's so much more accurate. The cheap poor man's way of doing it, and the other reason that I'll snap in front of it is because I do double check it. So I hit synchronize, and then I zoom in and I make sure that the peaks on the two audio channels are overlapped, because where you've got the snap or a clap, that's why movies had the clapboard, because it creates a peak. And you're able to kind of line those up both visually and audibly. Once that was done, it's fine. But yeah, with the time sync, so much easier.
It also frees you up if you have somebody running the camera that's not used to it, and they hit stop, or you go, hey, what are you doing? And they run over there and put start again. Yeah. You don't have multiple clips, or if you're doing a shoot, or if you're doing interviews, testimonials, and you want to line up some B-roll with some stuff, or somebody's filming the hands and somebody's filming the face, then you don't have to worry about the different cut-ins and cut-outs. You could record for the whole day if you wanted to, just wherever you picked up. As long as it's running, they're synced together all the time. Nice. That's really nice.
I might have to start doing some of that.
It's nice. Once you go in, you never go back. Well, I don't know. I should say that. I've recorded the last, because like you said, sermons, if you get a good start point, if you get a good time hack, then you're good, as long as it's one piece. But if you're going start, stop, that's for the birds.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be bringing them in.
Yeah. And let's face it, for small church pastors, easier is always better.
Easier, better.
So, yeah, we definitely want that. John was saying, question for Jarrod. When it comes to weddings, how do you mic up the officiant, bride, and groom for those in attendance?
Okay, I do not mic up the bride. I am counter to the industry. Most people mic up the bride, and they make this. They'll have a white one of these, a white lapel wire, and a white microphone, and they'll do all that. Run it through her dress, and usually put it. I don't have one around me, but you'll have like a thigh strap, and this goes in the thigh strap on the bride. That is way too invasive for me. I'm a modest pastor. Apparently my wife tells me you're like ultra modest. So like I am not going to be groping around on a bride day of. I'm not even going to have my wife groping around, messing with hair and makeup and getting them wired up. So that has not been an issue for me. What I do is I wire up the officiant. I wire up anybody in the wedding party if I have extra microphones, and I wire up the groom. But mainly the officiant and the groom, and somewhere in that little huddle, I will catch the main part of the ceremony. Now, afterwards, when it doesn't matter so much, then I can mic the bride up if we're just doing some like them talking or some extra shots from like reception and things. But usually it gets too loud and there's too much going on that somebody else can pick it up and they're around her. So the same way that you mic everybody else up, the typical way, lately, I've been doing what Josh is talking about. I'll move this out of the way a little bit. What Josh is talking about, you find the center of your sternum, kind of where the cavity is, and you put your sticky, and then you run your lapel mic in the standard way. Let me show you real quick. Promise, it's worth it. Once you learn how to do this, you never go back. You can watch a video on it, I'm sure. Here we go. Got this thing right here. There's the thing fully clipped out. Lazy way is to clip it on the outside, clip it on the jacket if you got an officiant and he's not going to be in too many photos. Just clip it on there, put the bottom piece in his interior pocket of his coat. He's mic'd up, ready to go. If it's the groom, you remove these pieces, just slide them right off, and then you put that tape on the inside of the groom's jacket, and you press it up against that. Or if you have some time with him beforehand, you go into the shirt, and that way he's mic'd up all day. I usually don't like to leave my mics on him forever, so there you go. Probably more than you wanted to know, but there you go. It
works. And because I went all in on Rode, I've got the Invisalav, which is already is it the smallest mic capsule that's out there?
Tiny, yes.
Like, I don't know any. And then I guess it's the Rode Lav, or the Smart Lav is the one that I've got. Or maybe Smart Lav Plus, because I wanted it to be able to go into my phone and put the adapter so I could go into the Wireless Go as well. So whether or not I had Wireless Go charged up or not, I could still get audio. But the Invisalav is actually let me scoot.
Also, John, mic up the DJ.
What did we say?
You're good. I was just telling John, also run a line off the DJ board. Redundancies is the name of the wedding game. You got it? It's tiny.
I got it. I was just getting... So... Oh, no, wait. That's my Wireless Go. Here's the Smart Lav, which this thing...
I wonder if it'll show the difference. I wonder what your focal length is.
16 mil.
I'm at 12, so...
But...
look at that thing. You see that little clip right there? Look at it. Look at him. This is amazing. It's going to blow some people's minds, I hope. Look at that thing.
So, and like...
I'm telling you, it's way bigger than... Yeah.
Tiny.
This is huge.
Ultra tiny, but what it does... So this is just the Smart Lav, where you got the capsule. But the thing that I use is this piece, this little rubber, is called the Invisalav. And so it does your wire management, and it keeps the capsule in. So when I stick it down and through here, like so, it winds up protecting, keeping the wire out of the way so it's not looping back on itself, creating any feedback. And then the capsule is actually setting underneath, so shirt will not rub on it, and it still picks up good. But then I just use top stick toupee tape, and I take one of these strips and I cut it into quarters, and then put one of these on the back side of here, pull it off, and then the other part's on the skin under the shirt. And then it works well. The only time I've had issues with it is when I let the chest hair grow too much. And then it didn't have enough skin to stick to. So then I just tape it to the shirt instead of taping it to the hair.
Listen, that's when you know you have good mic placement right there. It's when you pull out a wad of chest hair on a guy.
Yeah, pretty much there. Every single week, there's at least one or two hairs that come out.
Oh yeah, good mic placement.
So, but that's how I do it for church. I have thought like the same as you, where it might be beneficial for me. Might be beneficial for me to even vlogging, just mic myself up just in case. Because I've thought that, especially when I'm out and about and I set that and then I'll go kind of at a distance. I'll do it if I'm intentionally going for a longer focal length, but it would be nice to do it unintentionally, just to have the backup.
There's a mental hurdle that I can't quite break through yet. I would do this all the time. However, I'm one of those vloggers that I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think Diana was talking about this the other day. I don't know what the story is. I'm finding out the story in real time with everybody else. So I'm kind of learning as we go. We could build it and tweak it in the edit, but right now I don't know what it is. So my microphone is running all the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the downside of it. I know maybe like I'm going from place to place, I'll go, but it's a whole lot of hassle to get my cell phone out, which controls my mics. Get my cell phone out and go, oh, wait, I had a thought. and by the time you get into the app and hit play and make sure that it's connected and you are recording, it's like, meh.
Yeah, which is the other part of when we talk about simpler and easier. When I look at that, like Insta360 Go 3, it's just like the audio is good enough.
Yeah.
And if it was just, hey, it's right here and I just press record and I know it's got a couple capsules on it, so it's going to pick up the audio. It may not be the greatest, but if I don't really like it, I can always throw it through like an AI audio enhancer and it'll improve it from where it's at.
Are you thinking like you're going to use it as your vlog cam, like a primary vlog cam?
I'm thinking, so I would always like to have 2 cameras with me.
Yes.
One's my main, and then one is a backup.
Yes.
My thought is, would that be so beneficial for me to opt for that over my cell phone? That's kind of where I'm at.
Yes. How much is it?
I don't even know. I haven't even looked at it. But that's the thing. It's like, could I possibly? The other thing that would be interesting with it is I'm thinking like if I'm out in public and I just left that thing magnetized, if somebody sees it, what are the odds of them actually running off and taking off with it?
Depending on where you are, very high. I think I would snag it and be like, what is this? Where's it go?
You might look at it. And then the only downfall is the fact that, well, you had that other part that you're able to look and monitor and see who they are and where they're running away with it. So track them down would be pretty easy.
I wonder what the range is on that thing.
That's the other thing that kind of wondering. There'd be a fun
lag.
See, and I'm one of those that like I look at this and I was like, man, if I would get into tech YouTube stuff and be one of those that got to see this ahead of time. And I was able to share what Joshua thought of the Insta360 Go 3. That would be fun because I think my mind is just weird enough that I would think of some of those. Like John was saying, that Peter McKinnon was putting it on the side of the knife and inside of a pinball machine. I would not have thought of putting it on the side of the knife. I would have thought of putting it inside the pinball machine. Because that's just awesome. And the way that Casey Neistat did his, where he stuck his through the wheel onto the disc brake.
That was pretty good.
I was like, oh, yeah, that was cool.
Did you see the Insta of Josh Yo?
I did not.
He sent it on a rocket, one of those model rockets.
Brilliant.
And then I believe it was Potato Jet. I didn't realize it was a toy vehicle until the end. He had an RC car, and it's like driving through this jungle, and you don't know it's an RC car. You just see it, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, this looks like a sidewalk or something, and it pulls up to him, and he picks it up, but it looks like a.
And I watched Mr. Who's the Boss, and he wound up submerging it into water. He was down by a little creek. And while he was there, he's like, I'm not going to drop this in there because not that I don't think it can handle it, but I don't think I can handle it. So he put it on an RC truck and drove it down into the water. And that stuff is kind of cool. But I think it's fun to test that stuff. But to me...
Every day?
Well, to me, it's one of those, it's like, what is a use case that you would actually use every day? Or on a more regular basis. I could see Casey's being something that you would use more than once, putting it on the wheel. I could see Peter's putting it inside something else. Yes. Putting it on an RC car to drive it in the water? Not really. Maybe RC car to drive up to you? Maybe. That would be kind of a cool approach on it. Shooting it off in a rocket? Probably not. So there's some of them that they do just for fun, which is cool to do it for fun. But when I'm watching these, I'm trying to think, how would I use it? And so that's where to see it in a scenario that would be a little bit better. Like my first thought is, how strong is this magnet? Could I be at church and stick it to a screw inside the drywall of our wall?
Ooh.
Is it going to hold there? And if so, then that means I can pretty much mount it absolutely anywhere. I'm not really limited. Like that's my first thought is, can I do it there? Is it strong enough to set on the hinge of a door? Because for me, being about 6 foot, that's typical level of where a hinge would be. So I've got it at eye level. So those are the kind of things that I'm thinking of. And what about a car? Is it strong enough to hang on the antenna of a car? Because an antenna sticks up a little higher. And so then I can raise my height. But that's what I'm wondering. Is it strong? Depending on how strong the magnet is on it, there might be enough surface area. Is there? Isn't there? Those are the things that like I would want to know with it. And I hate the fact that you've pretty much got to buy it and try it, or you've got to know somebody that has it and be like, hey, can you do me a favor and go take it and do it in this way or that way? Or which, hey, for anybody that would get into tech YouTube, how cool would that be if they had like a audience submission, where after they drop one of these videos, they're like, hey, I'm going to be making another one and I want to test out your ideas. So leave some comments. Let me know how you want me to try to use it to see if it'll actually fit your use case and needs. Don't buy it until I've tried it. And to me, that's just like there's the audience interaction of it, but then you're also getting specific answers to your stuff. And for the tech YouTuber, it's like, well, you didn't even have to come up with the video ideas. Everybody else did it for you.
Are those things out? Have they already been released? Or are they in the pre-release? The marketing YouTuber embargo drops. Everybody floods the market with their videos.
Insta 360 Go 3 tiny action camera, $380. That's European. Action kit, travel kit, bike kit. I don't know Euro stuff. Ooh, here, we'll do this. We'll go back, and I'm sure B&H is here somewhere, right? There we go.
Add to cart.
B&H, $400.
Woo.
B&H.
Woo!
And it is add to cart, so it's available right now.
Well, I'm glad you said that because
they've got different internal storage too. So they've got the 64 gig out right now. The 128 gig is not out. Coming soon. It doesn't say when. But for me, it would be like you've got to go with the 128. Because this is all internal
2K?
Storage. Yeah, but it's all an
you're gonna be
internal
dumping
storage
it.
thing.
I don't know your workflow, but I'm dumping all the time. I dump every day. If I don't, then I get confused. It's kind of like how you can't process you can't do another video until the last one's done. I can't even deal with the footage.
Longer battery life, over 2 hours. Up to 120 or 180p, 120 slow-mo. Ooh, voice control. That's even better. Now, I wonder if the voice control works with the cradle to the cam.
Oh, now that's it right there.
Because if that does, it's even better.
Oh.
Like start record. Oh, and the one I did see that it does is the time lapse. But the time lapse that it does is you can program the time. So it wakes itself up at a certain time to get a time lapse. I would love to do time lapse in my video, but there ain't no way I am waking up at 6 a.m.
Exactly.
But to put that thing, and like if you're
run for 45.
Exactly. Just run the time lapse. Like, and that it does have the image stabilization. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things with it, but interesting. So that's kind of what this is. John had a question, by the way. He said, what's the difference between that and the Insta 360 versus the 360 cam? How ridiculous was using on one of their recent videos? I would say the main issue, this does not give you a full 360 image. That's the main difference of it. This is just one lens on it where the other has two lenses and they overlap and they wrap, and it uses AI technology to essentially create a full 360 sphere. So that would be the big thing. Now, the good thing about this is it's smaller. It'll get in more places that are harder to reach, and it's more discreet. The good part about the other one, it's 360. You'll never miss a shot. You can pretty much put it anywhere.
Guaranteed. Just like Casey was saying, someone swallows it. Hands down, someone's going to. Someone's going to.
Somebody's going to, yeah. So, anyhow, yeah, it's interesting. $400 though.
I'm not there. If it was $299, maybe even a little, maybe sub, like $199, $250, I'm all over it. For some reason, $400, I'm like, yikes.
Yeah,
that moves it out of my range. Also, side note,
Dustin says, "Day in the life. Stick it to your glasses. See what you see." Well, there's actually, who is that makes the glasses? Is it Ray-Ban that actually has glasses that have got cameras on them?
I don't know.
I think it's Ray-Ban that has glasses that have a camera on them and you can click on it. And I saw somebody recently in a vlog that was using it. for their first person view, which it was interesting. The only issue is it's like a square, but anyhow. Okay, so interesting, you said.
Oh, I just on a side note, I noticed the Casey video, this last one, was very reminiscent of like a Joshua Jarrod style, like your dog. Remember the old dog videos?
Yes.
I kept on waiting for him to clip it on, which he did. He clipped it on his stick.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this really, especially with the quality and just the trying out the different shots and kind of letting them roam. I was like, oh, this reminds me of ours. Yeah. Honestly.
The dog vlogs.
The dog vlogs, man.
Those would be ones that I would probably go back and watch over. Some of those videos, some of the videos that we've done, the majority of the vlogs that I do, I don't watch over. I'll watch them like when I've edited and maybe one time afterwards. And beyond that, it's like, no. But the dog vlog, I think I've probably seen that a few different times.
I may have told you this, but Jesse and I went on vacation back before smart TVs were a thing in our house. And we went to a hotel room and they had a smart TV with YouTube on it. And we signed on there and we watched a bunch of our videos, like the old school ones. And we're like, this is amazing. Some of these, just for family memories, are incredible. Yeah. Yeah,
if only I would actually become... return to the vlog pastor roots and actually vlog about
I
stuff. I
cannot wait, both for you and for me. I miss it. I miss it. Anyway, the videos are there. The editing is not for me.
Hey, can I ask you one other thing? Because I want to wrap up here in a bit, but can I ask you, how excited are you for the Penny series to come back?
Okay. I've mixed reviews here. So... how do you say this?
For those that don't know it, Ryan Trahan, starting this Saturday, it's July 1st, the Penny series is back for the month of July. It hints that it's going to be in a new country.
So there's something that I appreciate about him. I obviously love that he's a believer now. Love those types of elements there. But there's some weird interaction with Ryan. Like, the Penny series was incredible. Loved it. But I always wanted him to go just a little bit further with it. I thought he had some really cool ideas. And same with this one. Like, whenever he dropped it subtly at the end, and then he was found out, and you sent over the Instagram of what he was thinking. I'm super pumped for it. Don't get me wrong. I am. But, I have a feeling already that it's not... There's something in me, maybe it's just the humanness, that, wants him to go a step further. So I hope he pulls out the stops on this one, because season 3 would have to be like he comes back from Mars, a penny from Mars or something like that, or Penny to Mars. I don't know. So anyway, excited. Yes, absolutely. Also, I'm kind of nervous because the last season, it was obviously built the whole series myself. I'm kind of modeling after that one, but I wanted more. Yeah. So I'm nervous. What about you?
I'm excited to see where it goes, because I sat there and I think back on the Vlog Pastor series that we did. Mm-hmm. Season 2 was the best season we had, in my opinion. I liked season 1 was kind of groundbreaking. It started it all off, but I think season 2 was better. It was also maybe bigger, if I remember right. I don't know. It seemed bigger in how we did it, but it was more ambitious. I think season 4 was the easiest one that we did. But if I remember right, we had a little bit of a buffer on that one too. But because of, I think his second iteration, I like sequels. I think that sequels can often, in my flavor and my preference, I think they can often surpass the original. Unless you're just super nostalgic. But I think it has a potential. My only thing is I just want to see how it's going to happen. What's the game plan? And yet I'm excited to hear the game plan.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that already.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And it was so fun. I will say that something that I watched recently, I don't know if you've ever caught this channel, Discover Connection. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
No, I have not.
This is a Canadian guy. He's done a few of these things where he just basically walking up to strangers, so like popular ones, ask Canadians to cook them dinner in their house. And so just walking up to strangers and asking them, hey, can I make you dinner? He did this recent series here, Surviving on the Kindness of Strangers for 30 days. They traveled from East Coast to West Coast in the United States, and they had to solely survive on the kindness for others. So it was similar to the Penny series where they're traveling from coast to coast, but instead of like where Ryan was making money to try to supply it, he couldn't do that. It was all asking. So you had to ask people for a ride, basically hitchhike. You had to ask people for food, and every night you had to ask somebody to stay in their house. And so it's like completely out of the ordinary. And it's, without giving too much away, like I was shocked that I was surprised at how kind we still are as a people, as Americans. There was a lot of those moments in there. And his whole goal with like that entire channel was basically, not having a lot of one-on-one human connection growing up and kind of feeling alone. And then, COVID kind of creeps in and it exemplifies that or amplifies it to the point where it's like, now I'm feeling more of that issue. I want to discover the human connection again. So let's relate to people. Let's connect on a human level. And to see him kind of go through that, and I don't know, it was entertaining. That was one of those, the few ones that are out there that I looked forward to each episode dropping. He didn't do it where it was like a 30-day, of vlogs, but it was like
it all up in one.
Well, it was 10 videos, so it would like cover 2 or 3 days in each video. And then they would edit it and they rolled those out like a week later. So record for 30 days and then you take 3 months to actually edit it before you start releasing it. But it found some amazing stories in there, and just to see the difference, like whether people had plenty or didn't have plenty, just to be able to operate on their kindness. And their whole thing was, if I can't find somebody that'll let me stay at their house or their apartment, we have to sleep on the street. And it's just like, so there's stakes to it, of what's going to happen if you don't, where are you going to go and what are you going to eat and all that stuff. So it was interesting. I liked those type of deals, and I'm still with you that there is something. I think there is a way for the Christian community to do something like this in an extremely profound way. You were touching on it with a lot of what you were doing, when you did your own 30-day series, The Finding God Each Day. And so it was like you were starting to touch on that, and it was like, where's the next iteration of this? Like, what's it going to be? And I think there's stuff when I've seen Ryan's, yours, the Discover Connection, and there's some themes that are kind of happening in those, and I'm like, I don't know what it is yet, but there's something there. And it's like, you can almost taste it. It's like, it's almost there. Anyhow, so yeah, you'll have to check that one out, because that was awesome.
I'm always on the hunt for one of those, so I appreciate that. That's a good tip.
It's
I'm tired. It's weird. I'm in you can tell YouTube doesn't know where I am. I'm changing tastes, and so they're giving me a bunch of different folks. I'm like, nah, it's not quite it yet. So that's a good find right there. Good find.
I like that one. Yeah, it's a good one, and I've watched most of his videos. I haven't watched all of them, but I would say I've watched most of them, because there was another series that he did where it was 30 days in Mexico, or maybe it was just a video, but he spent 30 days in Mexico and he didn't know any Spanish. I'm like, that's amazing. But it's also kind of neat just to see him, because it's like, it's Discover Connection. This guy's truly just trying to find this, and he's living it all out, and he's working it all out. And he's like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm seeking after. I'm not sure what I'm trying to do, but then when you see him going across the U.S. and he kind of gets into the Bible Belt region, and all of a sudden people are able to speak to him in a way that he's, as a Canadian, has never experienced, and to see those God moments on a channel that has nothing to do with God come out, it's like,
I like that.
yeah, that's just what's going to happen.
So
yeah,
hats off to
kinda
those
cool.
guys who are able to, in a way, like produce it. It's not a production, but film their authentic lives as they're living it out with like a full size camera rig. That's why I'm really interested in that Insta360, because if I had that instead of having to hold this cell phone out while you're trying to interact with people, this is awkward already.
Yeah.
Filming is awkward, but to have something subtle that you could clip on your person or on a gas pump so they could have your full attention, that is a game changer. Or to go through Mexico without having to go, huh? No,
and that's where I honestly think, for a Christian perspective of us trying to do, I mean, it's essentially documentary. That's what it is, which it's vlogs. I mean, we know that vlogs is all about just documenting your life. And when I think of like the 30-day challenges, so the one thing I didn't necessarily like with Ryan's that I didn't even know I didn't like about Ryan's was it was almost too structured and formatted. So it already had the plot and the premise in each episode, which is great when you're trying to do 30 videos across 30 days. Brilliant, because you now have it. So it doesn't really matter what day is. It's just got to fall into these boxes and categories. That's easy to do. But when it comes to something like this guy's traveling across 30 days, you've just got to record everything. And then as you go back, it's more true documentary style where you go back in and you just try to capture everything and then pull out the stories from there and you highlight those things. That's the stuff I would love to really try to implement with the vlogs. And maybe that's part of my dilemma and struggle with vlogging recently, is just because I want to do it differently. And maybe that's because I see like some of Casey's videos where the ones that I think maybe that I enjoyed more, it wasn't like, oh, this is a daily video and I just have to find something to do today. Those were okay. I liked watching those because I enjoyed the time of just, you're here and there's a new video every single day. It's a new video. But the videos where it's got something more to it and it's got a deeper story and a message. So like he already had a trip planned and they were going to South Africa. And while I'm going to talk about how I met Candace and we're going to pull this stuff back up. That's great. Or, hey, I'm going to, this, I'm going to this like celebration for a friend and he's former military and here's how we met and here's what that was. So there's like deeper layers to the story where it didn't seem like as much of, oh, today I'm going to tell a story about this. Mm-hmm. It was more, I've just kind of documented and I've created it based on the time and the situation he's in. Here's the story that came out. I don't know. That's kind of what my thoughts are. But
there's thus the tension.
Although, all that being said, I would rather just publish something than publish nothing.
Hey, I know a video.
Maybe.
How did it go? We didn't even touch base on that story for another time. Yep. Let's wrap this.
We'll have to wrap this up and we'll conclude that next week. And maybe you guys will actually see how things went. So, all right. Well, that's all we got for you guys. Any other final shots, Jarrod?
I have nothing.
Sweet. Stay blessed. Enjoy God's best. Have a fantastic week.